Mark Red Larson here for the Dreamcatcher Podcast. Thanks for joining me. Today, my guest is JP Horgan. Thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for inviting me, and I love what you're doing.
Well, thanks for being our guest. So JP, where do you live?
I live in Toronto, Canada, and I was born and raised here, and I've lived here my whole life.
Awesome. Okay, awesome. What do you do in Toronto?
Yeah, the fun answer is ABCs, and ABC stands for Always Be Coaching. So I'm a life coach, a business coach. I facilitate mental health groups. I
Wow.
I teach creative writing groups, and I teach meditation workshops.
Very cool. I mean, my gosh, when do you sleep? I mean, so mental health, that is something that in this day and age, I'm still surprised how it's kind of pushed, off to the side. So how did you get into that area?
Yeah, I agree with you first that it's pushed aside, especially for men. And so
Mm-hmm.
let me tell you my story. I went through like a decade of hell, chronic pain. I have
Oh,
a tumor in my spine. I was taking one pill for
wow.
this, one pill for that. And
Right.
eventually they got me up to taking 33 pills a day.
Wow.
And I was sitting around at age 35, just pretty much waiting to die. I always tell people, I'm just waiting to die. I was in a mobility scooter. I couldn't laugh, cough, breathe, or sneeze without
Oh
chronic
my
pain.
word.
And I would wake up every day knowing exactly what was going to happen. I would take a handful of pills, be in pain, take a handful more pills at lunchtime, be in pain, and do that 2 or 3 times throughout the day. And then the next
Wow.
day, same thing. And so things were kind of useless for me, maybe, might not be the right word, but I wasn't going the
Okay.
right way. It wasn't a life I wanted.
Right,
And
right.
then as I was turning 40 and my son was about to turn 5, that same year, I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, my son deserves way better.
Mhm.
And so slowly I started going off the pills. And if anyone's listening and thinking about doing that, you must do it with a doctor. You can't do it alone, it could be
Okay. Good
fatal.
advice. Oh wow.
And so I first removed like one medication out of my diet, and that was 9 pills. And then I was in a
Huh.
little more pain for a couple weeks, but then I realized after a couple weeks the pain actually did go down.
Really?
So part
Wow.
of the reason was like I'm taking all these pills, and this is a question for your audience, anyone who resonates with this. If you're taking a bunch of medication and you're doing it year after year and you're not improving, you've got to ask yourself, why am I taking this? And
Amen. Yeah.
the doctors are just they're just giving you whatever you present to them. So I was presenting as chronic pain, depressed, anxiety, all sorts of these things. And they're just genuinely trying to help me. I'm not
True.
sure giving someone 33 pills is the right solution.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I mean,
But
I admire you for doing that going forward.
right.
Uh,
And so when I was going through all this, there was no Zoom, there was no online group. There was Zoom, but not like it is now, not since
right.
COVID. And there was no online groups. And I remember just thinking, like, this is, I was alone. I isolated myself and I was totally alone. So when COVID came around,
Mm, yeah.
and after I got better, I started giving back. The first way, I wanted to generate abundance. I didn't know what to do. I started
Right.
donating blood. Donate blood.
Cool.
Everybody has blood. You
Yep.
can take a liter of blood out of your body. It will come back in a couple of days and you might save
Exactly.
someone's life.
Exactly.
And then it kind of snowballed to that, a little bit of coaching. But I was asking, I said, I need to volunteer and do more. And literally
Hmm.
the next day, the local newspaper had the front page ad. There was this mental health group asking for volunteers for
Perfect.
online groups for social anxiety, depression, and chronic pain. I was like, wow. It was almost like God just was like, here you go.
What you look for, you find.
Yeah.
So awesome. I love that. That is so cool. Yeah, I mean, so that's how you got to that into that. So what do you do exactly with that area of your coaching?
Right. So there's a like a big training program you have to go through. Not everyone gets to qualify. And then
Right.
what we do is we go into a group, and it's like a an environment, a container that people come and they can hear other people telling a story that they know and that they feel. And something about chronic pain, anxiety, depression, I'm sure there's other things we can put in
Right.
there, is that
Right.
when you isolate yourself and when you're having this battle internally in your mind, you think you're alone and you don't see
You
that
do.
other people. And so part of this group that's beautiful is that people come there, they see that there's other people going through the same thing as them, but on top of it, maybe they don't want to talk to their wife or husband or their kids or their family about it because they just don't understand. So they
True.
come here and there's lots of compassion and empathy, which is massive. And it helps me grow as a coach as well, but a
Win-win.
person, yeah, and it's such a good thing, right?
It is such a great thing. I mean, you're inspiring me already. We just got started the podcast. So okay. So some of the other coaching you do, what do they entail?
Yeah, so I would say the differences between that and life coaching is that a lot of the people in pain, their awareness is down here and they're a victim still. And it's not
Okay.
their fault. It's definitely not their fault. It's just the way their experience of life has been. And I used to be that guy. I was a victim. I didn't know what a growth mindset was. I had a fixed
Right.
mindset.
Right.
And so the difference with coaching is that those people are ready to create their future and they're willing to do whatever it takes. If
I
you want to
bet.
write a book, I'm going to come and tell you, hey, look, okay, you want to write a book? How many chapters? How many pages? Whatever. Let's go. Here's
Hmm.
a book. 3 months. 3 months? You want to write it? Yeah, let's do it. And then what
Yeah.
happens is they start doing it 12 chapters, one chapter a
Yeah.
week. 3 months later, you got a manuscript, and then the person's like, whoa. So the difference is that the coaching clients are ready to take action and they believe that they can achieve the result, where the chronic pain, anxiety, depression, they've just had a really rough go of life and
Yeah.
society
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
not ready for it.
I could definitely see the difference there. So, yeah, they do believe, and you got to believe on it, that you can do it. Especially, I like where you did the timeline, because if you give more time, you'll use it. That is so cool. But so, have you written a book?
Have I written a book? Yeah, I have a book right here.
Really? Okay.
I just published my first book last summer, but I'm gonna,
Congratulations.
yeah, I did it under like a pen name just to
Okay.
hide.
Uh huh.
Definitely hiding, right? Because I knew I was gonna make tons of mistakes, and which I did. This thing's full of mistakes. I still have to edit it, but it's all good. We're on
It
to
is
the
all
next
good.
book.
You
Yeah.
gotta start somewhere. That is for
Yep.
sure. So you
Yeah.
have a lot of more books in you.
I do. Yeah. I love writing's probably my favorite thing to do. And I write all the time. And every morning I'll journal. And
Do you
then
guys? Okay. Awesome.
about another 30 or 40 minutes where I dedicate towards books.
Very cool. So, I was just going to ask you if you journaled, but so you
How
said you
about
did
you?
some. Have I written a book? I have not written a book.
Have
Um,
you do you journal or
I
anything?
do journal, yes. I actually have one because it's actually got a big compass, and I'm Mr. Christmas, so I got to actually have a Santa pen, and, and it's just like, what else would you think from me? But yeah, I have this because actually our business is Compass for Your Life. That's our LLC, and got a great big compass on it. It's just, at first I didn't care for writing, but once you get kind of started in it, it's like you look forward to it. It becomes almost like an addiction. It's just like
Yeah.
I got to get this out there and putting it into the reality too. So, okay, something that you said meditation. You're a meditation coach too. So that is something that I haven't gotten much into. But so how did you get into that?
Yeah. Probably when I started switching and getting off the pills. I don't even know how I found it. Maybe it found me, but it was just one of
Could
those
be.
things
Mm.
where I started, you know what happened? I started seeing all this new information that I didn't know before. Before I was just 100% sports guy. I would come home from work, turn on
Right.
the sports. I thought that was it. But then I started learning all these new things. And so what I saw was this Indian mystic yogi. I saw
Oh wow.
a neuroscientist, a Navy SEAL commander, a motivational speaker, and I can't remember a couple other people right now, but they were all saying the exact same thing. Like
Uh
if
huh.
you sleep right, if you journal, if you meditate, your life will improve, and it did. So
Yeah.
I have
Kind of
all
like,
that. Yeah,
yeah, kind of like the universe putting it right there in your face. Sooner or later, they'll get it. So, and I can relate with that one. So, you were going to say something else. Sorry about interrupting you.
Oh, I just said, hey, I don't even know if I believe what you're saying, but all of these guys from different walks of life are saying the same thing. So I'll try it. And I tried it and it worked and it just keeps improving. And now I have the evidence in my own life. I don't need to watch a YouTube video or read a book to find out
Right.
what's what. I know what's what because it's happening and from my own experience.
It is. No, I just talk about putting us together. I know that nobody crosses paths that we do it all at the time we're supposed to, the way it's supposed to. And I'm so blessed that we cross paths here. So yes, I look forward to getting to know you much better. But so okay, so do you speak on stage or do anything like that?
So I'm motivational speaker and I don't know, you know Toastmasters?
I do know Toastmasters. Yes.
So obviously, as you just started that exchange by saying the universe puts us together, perfect timing. Yesterday, I
Uh-huh.
just completed the final speech I need in order to
Awesome.
qualify for the international speech competition this
Oh
year.
wow!
And
Congratulations on
so,
that too. That's so
yeah,
cool.
so thank you. So
Ah.
yeah, I've been doing all these speeches and trying to. You have to go through a bunch of levels and pathways. And so
Mm-hmm.
yesterday was my final one to get ready for that
Very,
competition.
very cool. So how long have you been on your journey? I think maybe how long did I mean? It evidently started when you started getting off the pills, but how long has this been going on?
Yeah, it's not sure if it seems like if it's long or not, but let's say around 2019 was that year where I said I'm
Okay,
not
that's
doing
kind of
this anymore.
okay.
And
That's
so
kind of where mine.
I also feel like all the stuff that I learned in that first year, the meditation, journaling, all these tools, exercise, sleep, sunlight, nutrition, and I started just diving right into them, but I feel like they all prepared me for COVID. And so when COVID happened, I was
True.
ready to go. I knew
Yeah.
exactly what I needed to do right away to make sure that my self-care routine was in place. And
Yep.
I knew 100%. I made a firm, like out loud declaration decision that I'm going to come out of this better than I'm going into it. Because we knew right away it was going to be for a while. So
Yeah. So you guys locked down there then during COVID.
yeah, I was just writing an article about this. Toronto was one of the worst in the entire world
Really?
for like locking down, for the security rules and regulations, and for the amount of time. Like my children right now, they're 9 and 7. My daughter's experience of kindergarten was single file rows and masks. Like I'm like, this is how we're gonna introduce
This is
kids
terrible.
to us, right? We
Yeah.
have an 18-year journey or 20-year journey through
Yeah.
school, and that's your introduction, right? And we know
Yeah.
now that between ages 0 and 7, kids get programmed, and then they end up living their life as an
They
adult because of that programming, which it's kind
they
of
do.
scary to think about.
It is very scary. Yeah. I going back to COVID, at least I was blessed because Nebraska didn't do lockdown. We basically didn't do anything here, and we didn't have very many cases, so that part was really good. But going back to the school thing, I don't know. I'm ahead. I'm very much for education, but I mean, we need to change our schools greatly. I mean, it's just for one
Yeah.
thing, Central Nebraska is very conservative. The stuff is just like you're back 1950s. Everybody does the traditional and goes to school, gets a college degree, and does that. But most of the stuff because I had great teachers, but most of the classes I took really weren't preparing me for life. They're preparing me to be a good worker,
Yeah.
and kind of obey or whatever they want you to do. But do you think that'll ever happen in the regular school system, or you think it's always going to have to be kind of like what we're doing online?
I think it's about to happen. I think what you're
Is it
talking
okay?
about is exactly right. And it's been that way. If you look at the school system for 100 years, the only thing that's changed is they took it from a blackboard to a whiteboard. And so
Exactly. Yeah.
preparing someone to work in a factory, like you even got 2 15 minutes and a half an hour for lunch,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And we're doing that to
Yep.
little kids. And then
Yep.
because of technology and just everything, right? The amount of information coming out of brain from an
Yeah.
evolutionary perspective is just so much, right? First
It
was the
is.
internet, but now
Yep.
even more with AI. And
Yep.
so let's say I'm at the hockey arena on the weekend and I'm overhearing this father talking and they're telling my son he has ADHD, and the other person's like, why, what is he doing? And he's like, oh, he just doesn't want to sit still. I'm like, okay, well, maybe we should stop just classifying everyone as ADHD. And
Definitely.
maybe the kid doesn't want to sit at a desk for 8 hours a day, right? Like,
Right. Me
We don't
either.
have the attention span. Yeah, who does, right? So
No,
maybe we,
never.
that's one way to shake it up is maybe instead of 2:15s a half hour, maybe every hour we get up and walk around for 5 minutes or do a happy dance or something.
Yeah, we should. We really should. And I have a lot of friends in the 20s that are, ADHD, anxiety, so many of them. I think one thing we put a title on everything. When I was going through school, like, that wasn't there, and somebody might have been hyper, but otherwise they didn't put that. And this one kid that I have is a friend. That's what he's always like. I'm ADHD and I suffer from anxiety every day, and I think that's another self fulfilling thing. They've been told that pretty much since almost day one. Uh,
Yeah.
how would you get out of that? When that's how you relate with. How do you stop seeing yourself as that way?
Yeah, you
In your
got to
opinion?
100%. So you definitely got to step back and question the beliefs, right? It's harder to do with younger kids, but when you get older, are these the beliefs that are mine? Have I been carrying these beliefs around for 30 years and they're not even mine? And just like a bag of rocks you've been carrying around for a couple of decades, you
Right.
just drop it, let it go right away. And we've all done this around Christmas time, around Easter, right? We just
Yep.
change our belief one year in a second. And
Yep.
so there's a guy, one of the mentors that I had, his name's Vishen Lakiani, and he said, if you believe that the color blue will make you successful, it will. And just that you can instantly change a belief
Truth.
like that. And it's so true. Another way would be affirmations. Start telling yourself the opposite. And there's a part of affirmations where people just say the words and then it doesn't work, but it's because they're not feeling the emotion. You have to almost have the emotion where you've already experienced whatever it is that you're going for. And I saw a rapper actually yesterday. He said he called it the 369 method. He said
Okay.
in the morning he'll write 3 lines of whatever his affirmation is,
Right.
like I'm going to be a rapper, I'm going to be a millionaire.
Right.
In the afternoon he'll do that 6 times, at nighttime 9 times, and he'll read it out loud. And now this guy's a millionaire rapper.
Hey, that works. And that's, if you can do 369, yeah, I think everybody can do that. So a little manifestation there. So, that is so cool. And we got to get all this out there because I don't know, there's so many people with blinders on in the world. The majority,
I was
and
there.
that's why I started Dreamcatcher, because most people aren't living their dreams; they're existing, or sometimes they're living their nightmares. And they do their some days, and it's like some days don't usually occur. Because for one thing, it's their mind that they have to work hard, which you do have to work to a point, but not really hard. Work smart. I find that yeah, it's just because everybody's like, we have to work hard. It's like, you want to trigger me, that'll do it. But it's just like, you don't. But I that's one thing, being self-employed or whatever, being my own boss. I am back and forth. I don't ever feel like I'm working hard. I don't
The,
ever. Actually, I don't know if I feel like I'm really working. Sometimes I feel like, am I really? This is awesome life. And it's just like, this is possible for me. It's possible for everybody. And getting that out there, and that's one reason I started this podcast and everything else with Dreamcatcher. So, because it's just like, it's all possible. You got to believe, and a lot of people don't believe it's for them. It's like, especially in this area, it's like, oh, that's good. It's like, if I could do it, why can't you? It's just, I don't. So okay, you have your own podcast. How long ago did you start your podcast?
yeah, it's going to be a couple years now.
Cool.
I'm just close to 130 episodes.
So you're
And
right there with me then. Okay, cool.
yeah, it's called the Phase 4 Podcast. And I release a new episode every Monday at 5:55 a.m. and every Friday at 11:11 a.m.
Awesome numbers. If you don't know what those
East,
numbers mean, check those numbers out.
yeah, I should add Eastern time to that.
Okay, awesome. So how did you get the title for your podcast?
Yeah, so that guy who I'm telling you about, belief with the blue, Vishen Lakiani, he has something called the 6-phase meditation, and it takes
Okay.
you through. It's brilliant. It takes you through 6 phases. The first is compassion, and then gratitude, and then forgiveness, and then the last three are creating your future,
Right.
the perfect day, and you wrap it all up with a blessing. And so this is all a visualization. But
Okay.
phase 4 in the 6-phase meditation is all about creating your future. And so you would appreciate that as a Dreamcatcher podcast.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That's what phase 4 is. So I want to talk to people about what they want from the future, how they're going about getting it, where they see themselves in 3 years. And that's what the phase 4 is, 3 years out. But
Okay.
the idea is like by doing all this and by sharing those stories, the person gets clear on it. But anyone listening can see easily, hey, look, there's 100 people, almost like those 5 people I said were saying the same thing. Well, we got about 120 episodes, and all those people are saying the same thing. It's different, obviously, but they're manifesting,
Yep.
they're doing the work. And so what you said about work, it's not about working hard. It's about working
It
smart.
is not. Yes.
And so
yes.
that actually takes a bit of stepping away from everything, shutting down everything, and kind of what do you want? And once you shut out all the distractions, social media, other people's opinions, everything,
Oh, yeah.
and if you get real quiet and start asking those questions, answers will come back to you. And then you'll find out, hey, this is what I want to do. I have one on in nature. I have this like big long loop driveway, and every Saturday I'll go out in the driveway and I'll just kind of reflect on my week that went by and like, did I do what I wanted to? Like, how did that meeting with Mark go? And all these kind of things. And then on Sunday, I'll kind of go into my following week. And so I'll go, okay, Monday I got to do this, Tuesday, and I'll walk through everything and I'll send love, light, and energy to it. And so this meeting right now, I've already been here and we've already had it. It was awesome.
Yeah, I hear you. So, and I always say the silence has answers too, and that's the bad thing is most people are never in silence, especially nowadays with their phones and never.
Yeah.
And I love your with the driveway because I do that. Actually, we're out in the middle of nowhere. I see more animals than I see people. We have like 52 turkeys here. We have we even have a bobcat, which is actually very tame. And
wow.
It cleans itself on our back step. And I still wouldn't want to be on the end of that cat's paws or those, anything. But no, I love what you just said. You see it already. You do see how it's going to go. And I just. So how do people get a hold of you to work with you?
Yeah, so my website is called thenextstepsacademy.com. You can also get me on Instagram at Next Steps Academy or at the Phase 4 Podcast.
Okay. So I see that Next Step Academy. What is that exactly?
Yeah, that's my coaching company. Phase 4 is the podcast. Okay. Next Step is the coaching company, and they both have beautiful taglines. My tagline for Next Steps is your story is your superpower. Because definitely believe like everybody has a story, and you might not think it's important because you're going through it. You might just think everyone else is, but it's not true. Even identical twins have 2 different stories, and everything that's brought you to this point in your life is able to, you can pick it apart. The music you listen to, the conversations you heard, the people you saw when you were younger, the dreams you had that the society took out of you. All these things are your superpower. And if you don't find that and that doesn't resonate with you, that's okay, because your superpower is still start where you are, use what you have, do what you can, and create it. And so you can start right now. Whatever's happening to you, you can start right now and make it up and start going towards it. And to prove this, last year I ran a marathon.
Oh, wow. Awesome. How was that?
It was magical. And so I actually did too, right? And so coming from that other story, I was in a mobility scooter when I was taking those pills.
Right.
And then this was my idea, was partly for the chronic pain group that I'm facilitating, but my idea was to like manufacture the evidence, right, in advance. And so we wrote it up ahead of time. This is what we're going to do. We want to get this kind of a finish time. That means we're going to need to do this, this, and this throughout the training. And it's really regimented, right? But the idea is like, there's no luck. It wasn't luck. It was, I did this. I tried this. I did these runs. Like there's something called long runs, which are brutal. But once a week, when you're doing that training, you'll have to do a long run. And it might start at like 15 miles. Then the next week you're at 17, 19. Right. And by the end, you're up to 26 or 24 miles. And it's just like, so that's the work that needs to be done. But now I have the proof. Like we made it up ahead of time. And I learned about 25 things. That's one of the books I'm writing right now. But
Okay.
There was definitely a list of 10 awesome things that, if you don't mind, I'll run through real quick.
I'll be
But
yes, definitely.
and so a lot of them are like, they're applicable to life, right? But it just happened to be the marathon.
Uh-huh.
But like, make it up in advance. That's it, right? Start where you are, do what you
Yep.
can, use what you got. That was Arthur Ashe's quote. Um, Slowing down to speed up is a big one, and there's a bunch of different reasons for that. One is that those long runs, you do 3 and then you stop and take a week off, and during that
Oh
week
wow.
off, your body's resting, it's downloading what it feels like. And so slowing down to actually go ahead and speed up is huge. But another way is heart rate training. They have this thing where, like, if you jog at a slow pace and over
Right.
time, so let's say the number of your heart rate is 135. If you just keep jogging really slow, eventually over time, you'll be able to run faster, but your heart rate won't go up. It'll still stay at 135. So
Wow.
slowing down to speed up, right? Knowledge is power was another one. There was a girl in the Boston Marathon in '02. She died of something called hyponatremia. She had
Okay.
too much water. She like drowned
Oh
herself inside.
wow.
And so this girl's running the race and she thinks she's drinking water and hydrating. And what was missing was the electrolytes or the salt or the magnesium, right? All of them are the same.
Wow.
And so what happens is the salt helps your body absorb the water, but she couldn't absorb any of it. She was just flushing it out in sweat or urine. And
Unbelievable. Wow.
she ended up dying, right? So knowledge is
Wow.
power.
It
Um,
is.
Showing up when you don't feel like it, that's a big one, right?
Which is a very big one because everybody's like, well, you must have just like we all have days when we don't want to do something. There's everybody has that. You just do it. It's non-negotiable. So
Right. And so there's so many, like I could keep going, but all these lessons, I was like, wow, these are all applicable to life. Like if you want to succeed in life, this is the manual.
yeah, that is so cool. So okay, I gotta ask you. I always ask on this Dreamcatcher podcast, what was your dreams? What were your dreams when you were a child?
Yeah, that's awesome, right? So I always wanted to be speaking on stages, and I also
Cool.
wanted to be an architect. And so the
Really, an
architect,
architect? Okay.
yeah, but the architect one isn't happening, and the speaking on stages seems like it's gonna come to fruition real soon.
That's cool. Maybe the architect would be building when you're building your complex or something like that.
Oh yeah, maybe
So
it's a metaphor, right? Building the life of your
maybe
dreams.
it could be, yeah. So okay, you said you asked 3 years out. What do you see? What is next in 3 years?
Yeah, so even just this first year, um, on April 13th, I'm hosting a summit called the Warrior Women Within, and it's a bunch of female speakers, all different genres. But what happens with this is that they weave together to tell this story of like a woman's journey from birth right through adulthood,
Right.
parenting, menopause, right to death. And so
Wow,
that's, yeah.
that's
And so
powerful.
that's part of it, right? So I'm like, okay, how can we speak? This is part of like elevating it. And it's not me. Some of the speakers too, I've known for years, and we've had the same dream about speaking. And so we're just moving up the ranks, expanding. And then on May 25th, I'm doing it's called Mindset and Motivation for Men. And the same
Okay,
idea, but with men coaches, we're trying to speak probably to 20 to 30-year-old men specifically. And
sure.
then the third one is on June 8th and 9th. That's called Good Energy, but it's about the energy world, about things like tarot readings, psychics, Reiki,
Cool.
all sorts of spiritual stuff. And so that one is
Yep.
2 days
Yep.
because there's more speakers and it will take a little longer. And so these are going to be webinars. And then I've built dedicated websites for them with lots of resources, the recordings, a bunch of
Cool.
extra goodies.
Very, very
So,
cool. I love that part. I mean, that's
and
something
so,
you don't hear very often either. Is that area that people go into because it's kind of like, especially in this area, it's like that's the devil. Tarot cards and all that stuff. It's like I don't think I do all those things that you just said.
yeah,
I actually have a friend in North Carolina that does the Reiki, and all that stuff. So do you do all that?
I'm not like as gifted as some of these people, but I used to be like not afraid of it, but I wouldn't talk about it because just people would look at me like I'm crazy.
They do, yeah,
And so
yeah.
one time I was in this workshop and there was this energy healer and he was saying like, "Does anybody skeptical?" And I put my hand up and there was like 200 people and only one other person had their hand up. I was like, "What?"
Really?
And so he goes,
Wow.
hey, look, can you just be open and just give it a, just, all I ask is that you be open. I was like, yeah, for sure. And he did this thing where he's like, send your energy to somebody who's a boss asking for a raise, a
Right.
girlfriend, right? Just send your
Right.
thought. And so I didn't have anyone. I did it. And less than 10 minutes later, my energy was sent to another speaker at that conference. And I wanted to tell that speaker, like, hey, you answered all my questions that I had coming here and everything, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so right after this guy does that, I go up to my room, I pack my bag, I'm running for the elevator, and I
Right.
hear the noise of the elevator. So I run around the corner, bam, I'm smashed right into the guy that I sent my energy to.
I love when it does that.
And I was like, wow. And so just too many things have happened since then where like it's no other, it can't be anything else. So
I
I'm not,
100% agree.
and even at the time, I was remember listening to some of the stories other people were telling and thinking like, man, I don't see it the way that guy sees it, but I have no doubt that he believes exactly what he's saying.
True.
And so, yeah, it's just graduated. It does seem like something you can practice and you get intuitively better. And almost like there's this visual world we see, but there's another world, energy world that we don't
Oh,
see.
oh yeah.
And so it's there anyway. But if we're just not in tune or attuned to it, then we're not going to see it.
Okay. No, I'm in tune. I mean, my wife's not so much, but my
Yeah, my
guides
wife
and
thinks we're nuts.
with the yeah they do actually. She definitely does on that. Probably even before I started hearing all of my guides and stuff and direction and stuff. So this is so cool. So JP, what are some of the things you're working on?
Yeah, so like I said, that international speech competition, and the speech I'm going to give is based around a framework that I teach all the time that I made, and it's called bias. And so bias stands for belief, intention, action, surrender. And those are the four ingredients
Okay,
you need to manifest. So belief, you have to believe in your heart that it's going to
you do.
work
Yep.
before you
Yep.
even start. Otherwise, you're not going
Yep.
to start.
Amen.
You have to, in your mind, you have to be intentional. What does it look like? How can I get it? Who can help me? Action, you actually have to get up from your visualization and do something. So,
Yeah, you got to do the action. Yeah.
and then the hardest part is the S, surrender. It's always the hardest part that, hey,
Oh
look, if
yeah.
it doesn't happen exactly how I want, maybe there's something better coming, or maybe God has a better plan for me. Like maybe
Yep.
I'm not supposed to go there. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and surrender is. I would agree with you on surrender is definitely because I'm one of these that wants to control everything, and surrendering is definitely. I'm still working on that.
oh,
Very
yeah.
much still working on that.
And then I also have a couple of workshops I could tell you that I'm doing, but they're
Okay.
always going. So um, in February we're starting up. It's just an 8 week writers workshop, and it kind of covers a bunch. It doesn't matter what level of writing you're at. It covers a bunch of different avenues. Like let's say it covers genre, bio, AI.
Okay.
There's a section about the 4 F's of writing, which are um, fine points, flow, finality, and freehand. And then
Okay. Okay.
there's a couple other categories. So what it is, it's just an 8 week journey. Another one is books, blogs, and self-publishing. So each week is a new chapter. And then
Awesome.
what's Joseph Campbell? The Hero's Journey is another one.
Oh
Of
wow. Okay.
So all of that is, it's a weekly writers tribe. It's an 8 week course, and it just comes in like a Zoom room, right? And every week we meet, we have the conversation about that chapter. And then there's a website again with just resources, books, bonuses, all sorts of stuff. The second one that
Cool.
I'll be starting will be around that same time, the next cohort. It's for that 6 phase meditation. I call it the 6 phase protocol because I find sometimes people have a trouble with the word meditation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
I
call
believe
it the
that.
6 phase protocol. And then a month later, around just after Easter, I'm going to be starting. This one's a 12 week journey. It's called the Artist Tao. It's a mix
Okay.
between two books. The book, The Artist Way by Julia Cameron.
Okay.
It's that helps unlock creativity. It's a 12 week. It's almost like a self help book for creativity. And
Okay.
then the Tao Te Ching is Lao Tzu. It's an ancient Chinese text. And so I took the two books and married them together, and I made a beautiful course, complete
Awesome.
with Yeah, that course has a different meditation each week. Same thing. We
Very
meet
cool.
in a Zoom room. There's a group of people, and we just kind of go through the materials. And I've curated a beautiful website, and that's a part of it. What else? I'm going to run a
Yes.
half marathon on May 5th that I'm trying to get a certain time,
Okay.
under an hour 35. I'm going to try to get under.
That is so cool. And yeah, you
And
probably wouldn't want to run a marathon right now. I mean, that would be a little refreshing, probably. So,
yeah, I did. The last year was I had to train in the winter and it was brutal, right?
oh, yeah, I would
And
think it would be. Oh, I think
yeah,
it'd be terrible. But I think, that's kind of like I do Wim Hof, and it's just like
yeah,
everybody's like, I actually have been out sitting on ice and snow, not this year yet, but it's just like, it didn't seem cold after a little bit.
right.
It's just like, okay, this isn't. Everybody thinks, well, my wife, of course, thinks I'm crazy, but everybody else is like, and I still do the cold. You do the cold plunges and stuff in the morning, or
I do the
so.
cold showers, but I know what you're talking about outside. I'll do it in the middle of winter. I'll take my shirt off if it's nice for a bit,
Yep,
right?
yep.
5 minutes, just get. And everyone's like, I'm crazy," and I'm like, "No, you guys are crazy. You lock yourself inside because it's cold."
And it's a win-win because you're getting the benefit of the sun too. So, which in
Yeah,
the winter
hundred
is hard to
percent.
get. So, and everybody's just like, you're going to get skin cancer. It's like, no, I won't.
Right.
It's another thing that yeah, I'm not even going to go there. So I mean, so do you do stuff locally in the Toronto area in person, like for
Yeah,
groups?
yeah. Some of the groups are in person. Some are online still from since COVID, and so some of them are hybrid. But yeah, one on one, I'll meet somebody wherever they're at. If they want to meet online, that's fine. If they want to meet in person, that's fine. Some people want to meet in their own home. Some people want to meet
Cool.
in my home, and
Right.
some people want to meet in a park. One thing I've been thinking about, but I can't get my wife to buy in on it yet, is
Uh
called
huh.
a coach on a boat.
I that sounds promising. What does it tell me more?
Yeah. So I would just do the same coaching I'm doing, but take the person out on a boat and do it. And the second that they're surrounded by calm water and nature and all the elements,
Yeah,
they're gonna they're gonna improve quicker. They're
I love
gonna
that.
be able to hear, like you said, in the silence you can actually hear.
Oh yeah, a lot. And everybody looks at you like, "What?" It's like if you know, you know. It's just I hope I pray everybody gets to that point. So do you like to travel?
I love to travel. I just got back from Texas a couple weeks ago, so yeah, I
Okay.
definitely love to travel.
No,
My kids are in competitive dance, like ballet, jazz, tap, and acro. So we're
okay.
traveling all the time.
Okay. So how would probably it's still pretty nice in Texas. I know they got cold just recently too.
It
So
was funny because I was there with my shirt off, right? And there was people
uh-huh.
wearing sweaters.
Yeah, it is what you get used to. That's for sure. I will go into Florida. It's just like 50s and 60s. It's like this is really nice. This is really nice. But
Yeah.
so where were you at in Texas?
I was in Austin, Texas. So it
I hear
was,
good things about Austin.
yeah, it's a
I hear
cool
very.
city. I've been there before. It was, yeah, it's a nice little spot. It's, for a big city, it's kind of small.
Okay. So where are some places you haven't traveled you'd like to?
Yeah, I think me and the wife are talking about Greece and Italy. Seems like those two are on the top of the bucket list. But
Italy's
I've been
awesome,
up.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I would go. Actually, my wife and I went to Italy last summer, and we were
Wow.
down by Naples and Positano and Amalfi. And Naples, you could keep. It's just a big, dirty city, but the rest of it was so. It was hard to come back to Nebraska after that. So, yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
it was not like have preconceived notions about what it was going to be like. I thought
Right.
people because I had my app ready for Italian. I didn't use it once. Everybody was able to
Really?
speak English. It was just like, okay, this is different and people were extremely friendly. And I didn't need to. I mean, I took exchange for the euro and all that stuff, and everybody took credit cards. It's just like, well, you don't really need that. It's just like, okay, this is different, but nah, and don't take a taxi cab in Italy. Take the trains. We learned that really quickly. So, but it was so beautiful. I mean, we were on the Mediterranean. I mean, it was just the best education is traveling. I mean, it is
Yeah.
so. So, where would you like to go in Italy?
Yeah, I read this John Grisham book one time, and I'm trying to think of the name while you're talking, but it's all over Italy, and
Uh-huh.
I might have been, I think it's called Playing for Pizza, and it was like an
Okay.
American football player. He went over to Italy and joined
Oh,
their
I think I
league.
do know what you're talking about. Yeah. So
But
no, and
the description that he gives, like he's so good of a writer already, but he talks about different parts of Italy, and you could see it and feel it, and it's almost what I thought, right? Like Turin at the
yeah.
top. I remember the Olympics were there, and
Yep.
just
Yep.
I have family from Italy. I'd love to go down the bottom and then off the coast
Uh-huh.
Sardinia and see why all these people live to past 100.
Yeah, there's got to be some reason there. So I always tell my wife, it's like, okay, Naples has never had any recorded snow, so that probably would help a little bit, maybe. But I
Yeah.
don't know. But I mean, I would probably miss it eventually. But so where out in Greece would you like to go?
Yeah, I would just love to check out. I do love ancient civilizations,
Oh,
so I'd love to
cool.
check out all those kind of things, and even Egypt and yeah, Mexico. I
Yeah,
went to the Mayan pyramids, and they were just like, wow.
yeah. No, I can't even imagine. I mean, you can see pictures of it, but until you're right there, it is just doesn't do it justice. That's for sure. So, no, actually, I was with a speaking group in Italy. It was Jesse and Desiree Cruz. It lined it up. I don't know if you know them or not, but if you don't, they're awesome people.
Mm.
In fact, Desiree and I mean they do things kind of like what maybe it sounds like maybe you do. Just has gotten started in the last couple of years doing with speaking, and they brought us all together in this kind of farmhouse that was outside of we were I can't even remember the name of the town there, and it was kind of like we weren't even being we were practicing speaking, but we really weren't. It didn't feel like it. And then
Right.
they had each day we were there, they had stuff planned. They were the ones that planned the whole thing, everything we did. Went to the Queen's Bath. We went all over the place, and we didn't have to think about anything. You know, they just took care of it. But and actually, that same group we got along so well and it worked so well that we're going to Iceland in August. So
Nice.
that'll
Iceland
be
seems awesome. That
yeah. I've
whole area
never
up at that time of the year too, right? Even if you,
yeah
it's August is good,
yeah
but I remember what's that place right beside there? Estonia. Some friends that went to Estonia, and like around that time of year in June, July, it's like light, almost 24 hours a day.
yeah. Yeah, it looks. I've only had a couple friends that've gone there, but it's just like I've never heard anybody that really hasn't just loved it. You know, like a whole different world. And I tell them it's like that's Nebraska too. You know, it's a whole different world. It's just yeah, in Nebraska people knock it, but it's pretty. It's nice. I mean, we have the largest sand dunes in the Western Hemisphere,
Really?
and yep, we do. It's covered with grass. It's called our sand hills. But from space, you can see the sand dunes under the grass. And
Wow.
it had changed over eons that it got enough moisture that grass started growing on it. So like any place, you know, there's always something to. So was in Toronto. If I was coming to Toronto, what would you recommend that I go visit or do?
So on top of Toronto, Niagara Falls is only an hour away, so I'll go there.
Okay.
But like Toronto has a lot of stuff. There's definitely a lot of parks. There's museums. The ROM, the Royal Ontario Museum, CN Tower. I don't know if you know CN Tower, but
I
that's
don't think
the.
I do know that.
It's just
Okay.
like a beautiful architecture. It was the
Oh, I
tallest.
think I do know what you're talking about. That's what it's called. Okay.
It kind of looks like
Okay.
this tower in Seattle, right? But ours is better.
Okay.
Well,
I
you go up there and you just get this view of the whole city, and there's lots to do. It's a really big city. Like if you're talking like LA, New York, Chicago, and then Toronto would probably be number four in this region.
Okay. Okay. Very, very cool. So, well, before we end the podcast, I got one final question. What is something that seems so far out that you haven't done it yet, but you would like to do it? Do you have anything like that?
Yeah, I want to go skydiving.
Ha! Me too. No. So, okay. So, why do you want to skydive? And does your wife want to do that?
I'm not sure if she wants to do it or
Mine
not.
doesn't.
There's there's this place called Sky Zone. I'm not sure if you have them there, but it's like an indoor skydiving
We
place.
do have those. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and I just look at it. I'm like, that looks like fun. And then you look at the plane, and like, that looks like fun too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, my wife said she'd be on the ground with a glass of wine, just watching me come down. It's like, teacher. I mean, that's good. I mean, but no, I actually had my aunt who was in her 70s did it for the first time, and she loved it. I mean,
Wow.
it's just like she's ready to go again. I can't
How
imagine a thrill. What are
how
you gonna
about
say?
you? How about you? What is your dream? We're so far out there that
I want to be. no one by the world to help people to know it's all possible. Get rid of, you're never going to get rid of all limiting beliefs, but get rid of enough limiting beliefs that people can start living the life that I think that we were all destined to live. I think because between school and life and everything that gets kind of beat out of us, or it's not there anymore. And I think get people to think about that again, because most people don't think. They react but don't think. And just think, it's like, what was, that's why I asked that question, when
I
you were a
love it.
kid, about dreams.
Yeah,
So
I love it. I find the same thing. I find that people, when I ask them what do they want or what's their dream, it's like nobody's ever asked them before. And it's like,
mhm.
whoa. And then it just so empowering, just a little question.
It is. No, so that is, and that's what I'm trying to do, local things like pop-up podcasts. Have you ever done a pop-up podcast in your area?
No, but I did see a buddy of mine today. He did one, which is again the universe perfect timing because he has it. He has a set, but today he was pop up.
I think that could really be a lot of fun. Just get a group of people there, and just it might be interesting what the conversation would go towards.
It's a
And
great idea.
so I have to do that. And I'm pretty much equipped now that I can do a pop up podcast. So,
Right.
but so JP, anything else before we end today?
Yeah, for sure. So I would definitely would say like if any of this resonates with you, reach out to me and let's see what we can do. And if you go to my website, the nextstepsacademy.com, there's a bunch of free worksheets there. So you don't even need me. Take
Cool.
the sheets, be the architect of your own life. Create the evidence that you can look back and say, look, this is where I had, this
Amen.
is where I'm going. And dream as big as you want. That Arthur Ashe
Yes.
quote keeps coming back, but it's so true, right? Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. And Julia Cameron, maybe it's not Julia Cameron, they have a quote. It says, leap and the net will appear. And it just
Eh,
means like, go
True.
ahead. And then what's
Yeah,
the other guy's quote? Paulo Coelho from The Alchemist. It says, when you want a thing bad enough, the universe conspires to make it happen.
it does. Amen. That's a great way to end. Well, thank you, JP, for being my guest on the Dreamcatcher podcast. And I look forward to maybe having you back as a guest again, and just keeping in touch with you. I mean, I love your vibration. You have an awesome vibe. And thank you. And have a good rest of your day. And we'll be talking soon.
Yeah, thank you. And just before we go, I just want to say
Yes.
thank you for what you're doing because it's
Oh,
really important and it's inspirational and keep going.
no, thank you. I appreciate that. So we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.